Cargo ship shuddered as another piece of debris slammed into the hull. Red warning lights flashed across the control panel, and the computer voice kept repeating the same message about critical damage. He gripped the controls, sweat dripping down his face despite the cold air in the cockpit. This was supposed to be a simple run. Take supplies from the trading post to Colony 7, collect payment, go home. Nothing fancy, nothing dangerous, but space had other plans. The battle had happened 3 days ago, or so the reports said. 2 alien factions fighting over some territory dispute that humans barely understood. The fight was over now, but the debris field remained. Thousands of metal chunks spinning through space, each one a potential death sentence for any ship unlucky enough to cross paths with them. Had tried to go around the field, but his navigation system failed right when he needed it most. Now he was stuck in the middle of it, dodging what he could and taking hits from what he couldn't. Come on, he muttered, fingers dancing across the controls. The ship's shields were at 15%. One more solid hit and he'd be breathing vacuum. That's when he saw it on his scanner, a signal, a distress beacon. Hesitated. His ship was barely holding together. The smart thing would be to ignore it and focus on getting himself to safety. But the signal was close, maybe 2 kilometers away, and it was weakening fast. He made a decision he'd probably regret. Changing course, he guided his damaged ship toward the signal. As he got closer, his eyes widened. The vessel was elegant, shaped like a curved blade with silver and blue markings along its hull. A ship. The aliens who controlled this entire sector of space. The aliens whose technology made human ships look like children's toys. And it was completely destroyed. Half the ship was just gone, torn away by some massive impact. The remaining half was barely recognizable, twisted metal and broken crystal jutting out at wrong angles. Small fires still burned in some sections, somehow finding oxygen where there shouldn't be any. Scanner showed 3 life signs. No, wait, 2 were fatting. One was still strong but getting weaker by the second. He brought his ship alongside the wreckage, close enough to see inside through the torn hull. Bodies floated in the dark. Guards in their distinctive armor all dead. And there, trapped beneath a fallen beam, was another figure. Even through the debris and darkness, could see the prisoner was different. Smaller than the guards, wearing robes instead of armor. The clothing was torn and burned, but still showed intricate patterns that screamed importance. Royalty maybe, or someone high-ranking at least. His computer beeped urgently. Radiation levels were spiking in that section of the wreck. The ship's power core must have cracked. Whoever was trapped in there had maybe 10 minutes before the radiation killed them. Looked at his own ship's status. Shields at 12% now. Hull integrity questionable. Life support working but barely. Every instinct told him to leave, to save himself. He started putting on his emergency suit anyway. The magnetic clamps on his boots helped him cross from his ship to the wreck. Moving through zero gravity always made his stomach flip, but he didn't have time to feel sick. The radiation counter on his wrist was already climbing into the yellow zone. Inside the wreckage, he found her. Definitely female, based on the body structure he'd seen in documentary videos about the. Her skin had a faint blue shimmer, though it was hard to see through all the burns and cuts. She wasn't moving. Grabbed the beam pinning her down. It wouldn't budge. He braced his feet against the wall and pulled harder. Nothing. His radiation counter hit orange. "Come on," he shouted, even though nobody could hear him in the vacuum. He spotted a piece of broken pipe nearby. Using it as a lever, he wedged it under the beam and pushed with everything he had. The beam shifted slightly, then a bit more. Finally, it moved enough for him to pull her free. She was lighter than he expected, even accounting for zero gravity. He got her over his shoulder and started moving back toward his ship. Behind him, more of the wreck collapsed inward with silent violence. Getting her inside his ship took precious seconds he didn't have. The radiation counter was screaming red now, sealed the airlock and stumbled back to the cockpit, laying the woman on the floor as gently as he could in his rush. His computer was already scanning her. The results made his heart sink. She was dying, multiple organ failure, radiation poisoning. Her 3 hearts were beating in the wrong rhythm like an engine misfiring. Human medicine wouldn't work on her. Their biologies were too different. Stared at the medical readout, mind racing. He had one option, just one, and it was insane. In the cargo hold, he had a container of experimental nanomedicine. The stuff was illegal in most human colonies because it hadn't been properly tested. The company that made it claimed the tiny robots could repair almost any cellular damage, but they'd only ever tried it on humans. Using it on an alien, that could kill her faster than the radiation. Not using it, she'd be dead in 5 minutes anyway. Grabbed the container and ran back to where she lay. Her skin was turning darker, the shimmer fading. He could see her breathing getting shallow. "Sorry about this," he said, knowing she couldn't hear him, "but it's better than nothing." He pressed the injector against her neck and pushed the button. The nanomedicine flooded into her bloodstream, billions of microscopic robots spreading through her body in seconds. For a long moment, nothing happened. She kept dying. Then her back arched suddenly, body going rigid. The shimmer in her skin flared bright blue, then shifted through colors had never seen before. Her 3 hearts synchronized, beating in a powerful rhythm that he could actually hear. The medical scanner went crazy. The numbers changed so fast he couldn't follow them, but the critical warnings were fading, organ failure revering, radiation damage being repaired at an impossible rate. She was going to live. Sat back against the wall, exhausted and shaking. Only then did he notice something strange. His own heart was beating in the same rhythm as hers, and he could feel something, like a distant echo in the back of his mind, an awareness of her presence that wasn't coming through his eyes or ears. The nanomedicine had saved her life, but what else had it done? The woman's eyes flickered open. They were violet with pupils that looked like stars. She stared at for a long moment, confusion clear on her alien face. Then she spoke, her voice weak but clear. The words were in her language which he didn't understand, but somehow he knew what she meant. "Who are you?" Before he could try to answer, she passed out again. The scanner said she was stable now, just sleeping while her body finished healing. Pulled himself up and returned to the cockpit. He needed to get out of this debris field, needed to find a safe place, needed to figure out what he was going to do with an unconscious alien princess or whatever she was. As he guided his damaged ship away from the wreckage, he had no idea that he just changed the fate of 2 civilizations. No idea that saving one life would put him in front of an alien empress and make him the center of political games he couldn't imagine. He just knew he'd done the right thing. A person needed help, so he helped. That's what humans did. The message arrived 2 days after the rescue. Was still trying to repair his ship at a neutral trading station when 3 warships appeared out of nowhere. They didn't fire. They didn't threaten. They simply transmitted coordinates and a very clear message. The Empress commanded his presence. His friend and fellow trader looked at the message with wide eyes. They were sitting in a repair bay, drinking cheap coffee while mechanics worked on his battered cargo ship. "You have to go," said, but his voice shook. "You can't refuse the Empress. Nobody refuses her." "I know," replied. He'd spent the last 2 days reading everything he could about culture. The more he learned, the more worried he became. The woman he'd saved was Princess, youngest daughter of Empress. The Empire controlled hundreds of star systems. They had weapons that could crack planets. Their civilization was older than human recorded history. And he'd pumped experimental human medicine into one of their princesses without permission. "Maybe they want to thank you," suggested, not sounding convinced. Or maybe they want to arrest me for experimenting on royalty. Finished his coffee. It tasted like metal. Everything tasted like metal lately. Either way, I have to go. Ambassador arrived 6 hours later. He was a thin man with gray hair and tired eyes, wearing an official human diplomatic uniform that looked too big for him. He found in the repair bay and immediately started talking without even introducing himself. Do you have any idea what you've done? Any idea at all? His voice was high and strained. The Empire is in an uproar. Half of them think you're a hero. The other half thinks you're a spy who poisoned the princess. I saved her life, said calmly. Yes, with untested alien medicine. Do you know what to do to people who harm their royalty? Didn't wait for an answer. Neither do I, because nobody who's done it has ever been seen again. Edged away from the conversation, suddenly very interested in checking on the ship repairs. Took a deep breath trying to calm himself. Look, I'm here to help you prepare. The Empress wants you at her court on Prime. That's their capital world. You'll be judged before the entire Crystal Court. Every important in the Empire will be watching. What should I do? Asked. Don't speak unless spoken to. Don't make eye contact with the Empress. Don't touch anything. Don't accept food or drink. Bow when you're supposed to bow. Stand when you're supposed to stand. Pulled out a data pad covered in notes. I've prepared a whole protocol guide for you. Memorize it. Your life depends on it. Took the pad and scrolled through it. There were hundreds of rules, thousands of ways to accidentally insult someone. This is impossible, he muttered. I know, said quietly, but you have to try. The journey to Prime took 3 days aboard a dreadnought. The ship was massive, bigger than most human space stations. Was given a small room with a bed, a bathroom, and a window that showed the stars streaming by faster than should be possible. He was alone. The crew avoided him completely. Food appeared in his room 3 times a day, delivered by robots. Nobody spoke to him. Nobody checked on him. But he wasn't truly alone. That strange awareness he'd felt when the princess woke up was still there. It had grown stronger. He could sense her presence somewhere else on the ship, could feel echoes of her emotions. She was nervous, worried, and something else he couldn't quite identify. On the second day, he tried to sleep but couldn't. The feeling of her presence was too strong, like someone standing just behind him, even though he was alone in the locked room. He sat up and stared at the wall. Can you feel me too? He whispered to the empty air. The answer came not in words, but in a sudden spike of surprise through the connection. Yes, she could feel him. Didn't sleep at all that night. On the third day, the ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Through his window, saw Prime for the first time. The planet was beautiful in a way that hurt to look at. Cities covered half the surface, but they weren't like human cities. These were made of crystal and glass, towers that caught the light and scattered it into rainbows. Orbital platforms circled the planet like jewelry, connected by bridges of light that shouldn't exist. This was the heart of an empire that could destroy humanity without even noticing. The dreadnought descended into the atmosphere, was taken from his room by 2 guards who still wouldn't speak to him. They wore armor that seemed to flow like water, and their faces were hidden behind helmets that reflected his scared expression back at him. They brought him to a transport vehicle that flew over the Crystal City. Below, he saw citizens going about their lives. Their skin shimmered in different colors, blues and purples and greens. They moved gracefully, like dancers. Everything about them seemed elegant and refined. Felt very human and very out of place. The transport landed at a building that made his head spin just looking at it. The Crystal Court was massive, a structure that twisted up toward the sky in ways that violated physics. The walls weren't solid. They were made of something transparent but strong, and light moved through them in patterns that formed words and images in languages he didn't understand. Inside, the guards led him through hallways that changed color as he walked. The floor was soft beneath his feet, almost like walking on clouds. He saw other in the hallways, nobles and officials in elaborate clothing. They all stopped to stare at him. Their skin colors shifted as they watched, and he remembered from his reading that color changes showed emotion. He was causing quite a reaction. Finally, they reached a massive door that opened into the court itself, stepped through, and forgot how to breathe. The room was enormous. The ceiling disappeared into shadows far above. Thousands filled the space, sitting in rows that curved around a central floor. They all turned to look at him as he entered. At the far end, on a throne that seemed carved from a single piece of diamond, sat the Empress. Empress was smaller than expected, but size didn't matter. Power radiated from her like heat from a star. Her skin was pale silver, and her eyes were completely black, no pupils visible. She wore robes that shifted between colors he didn't have names for. Beside her throne stood Princess. His heart jumped when he saw her. She was alive and healthy, all her injuries healed. She wore formal robes of deep blue, and her skin shimmered with that same blue color. Her violet eyes found his across the massive hall. Through their connection, he felt her anxiety spike, and beneath it gratitude, relief that he was here. The guards pushed him forward gently. He walked toward the throne, very aware that every eye in the room was on him. His legs felt weak. His mouth was dry. Remember the protocol, he told himself. Don't mess this up. He reached the center of the floor and stopped. According to the guide, he was supposed to bow now. Deep bow, hold for 5 seconds, then straighten and wait. He started to bow, got halfway down, and then Empress spoke. Her voice filled the entire hall, deep and resonant. The words were in language, but somehow understood them. Maybe through the connection too, or maybe the translation system was just that good. You have saved what was thought lost, the Empress said. Every word felt heavy, important. For this, the Empire acknowledges a debt. The entire court erupted in noise. Voices raised in surprise and argument. Colors flashed across thousands of faces. Stood frozen, not sure what to do. Then Princess stepped forward from beside the throne. She raised one hand, and the court fell silent immediately. She looked directly at, and through their bond, he felt her determination. Her decision to do something that would change everything. I claim life debt, announced, her voice clear and strong. This human saved my life when none other could. By ancient law, I owe him a debt that must be repaid in equal measure. The court exploded again, even louder this time, but barely heard it. He was staring at, feeling her emotions through their bond. She was scared but certain. She'd just done something big. Something that couldn't be undone. Empress rose slowly from her throne. The movement was small, but it silenced the entire court instantly. She looked at her daughter, then back to her daughter. When she smiled, it wasn't warm. It was the smile of someone who'd just been handed a winning hand in a game nobody else knew they were playing. Life debt claimed and witnessed, said, let it be recorded. She stepped down from her throne, moving toward with smooth, predatory grace. He wanted to back away but forced himself to stand still. The Empress circled him once, studying him like he was an interesting specimen. When she spoke again, her words made his blood run cold. But there is another law, one older still. Empress stopped circling and faced the assembled court. Her voice carried to every corner of the massive hall without seeming to get louder. The right of imperial claim, she announced. When one of royal blood owes a debt that cannot be easily repaid, and when the debtor has proven worthy through courage and sacrifice, the ruling monarch may claim that person for the bloodline. Felt his stomach drop. Through his connection with, he felt her shock and anger. She hadn't expected this. My daughter owes this human her life, continued, packing slowly across the floor. He risked everything to save her when our own people could not reach her in time. He used his own medicine, experimental and dangerous, because it was the only chance she had. The Empress turned to look directly at. He did not know who she was, did not expect reward. He simply saw someone who needed help and provided it. Is this not the mark of worthiness? Murmurs ran through the court. Some nodded, their skin shifting to colors that showed agreement. Others darkened with disapproval. One noble stood up from his seat. He was tall even for, and his robes marked him as high-ranking. His skin was deep red, showing anger. "Empress, I must protest," the noble said. His voice was harsh. "This human may have saved Princess, but he is still primitive, still alien. The right of imperial claim has never been used for someone outside our species." "Which is exactly why I invoke it now, Lord," replied calmly. "Our empire grows stagnant. We need new perspectives, new ideas. The humans may be young and primitive, but they have something we lack." "And what is that?" demanded. Smiled. "They do not know when something is impossible, and so they do it anyway." She gestured too. "This man saved my daughter with medicine his own people consider too dangerous to use. He crossed a debris field in a damaged ship to reach someone he didn't know. When faced with an impossible choice, he chose action over safety. This is the spirit our bloodline needs." Through his bond with felt her realization. Her mother wasn't just making a political move. The Empress knew about the connection, knew about the nanomedicine and what it had done. This was all calculated. Wasn't finished. If we allow this, we open ourselves to contamination, to weakness. Humans are short-lived and fragile. They have no place in our royal family. "The right of imperial claim is law," said, her voice going cold. "Ancient law that even you cannot challenge, Lord, unless you wish to question my authority." The red in skin darkened further, but he sat down. Questioning the Empress directly would be treason. Turned back to, "I claim you human. You will join the royal household, learn our ways, perhaps in time become one of us in truth." Found his voice, though it came out rough. "And if I refuse?" The court gasped. Even suggesting refusal was unthinkable to them, but smile widened. "Then you refuse. I will not force you." She spread her hands. "But consider what refusal means. Humans and stand at a crossroads. Your people seek to expand into this sector. They need our approval, our trade routes, our protection from other empires who see them as prey." She walked closer until she was standing right in front of him. "If you refuse me, the court will see it as an insult. They will say humans cannot be trusted, cannot honor our customs. The diplomatic consequences will be severe. Your colonies will suffer. Your people will struggle." "You're blackmailing me," said. "I am giving you a choice," corrected. "A choice between personal comfort and the good of billions. What will you choose, human?" Before could answer, spoke up again. "Mother, this isn't fair. He didn't save me to become a political tool." "Nothing in politics is fair, daughter," replied without looking away from. "You know this. He saved your life, and now that life is tied to empire, whether he intended it or not." Felt dizzy. Everything was moving too fast. Just a week ago, he was a simple cargo pilot. Now he stood before an alien empress who wanted to bind him to her family for reasons he only partly understood. Through his bond with, he felt her desperation, her desire to help him but not knowing how. "I need time to think," said. "You have 3 days," announced to the court. 3 days to decide your path. You will remain in the palace as our guest until then." She returned to her throne and sat. "This court is adjourned." They began filing out, talking amongst themselves in excited voices. Their skin colors flashed rapidly, showing all kinds of emotions. But many kept glancing at, studying him like he was a curiosity. Guards approached to escort him away. As he was being led toward the exit, he looked back at. She was still standing by the throne, watching him. Through their connection, he felt her thoughts clearly for just a moment. "I'm sorry, I didn't know she would do this." Then the guards took him out of the hall, and the connection faded to a background awareness again. They brought him to a suite of rooms in the palace. The space was huge, bigger than his entire ship. The walls were that same crystal material that seemed to glow from within, furniture that looked too delicate to use but proved sturdy, a window that showed the crystal city stretching out below. It was beautiful, and it felt like a cage. Sat on the edge of a bed that adjusted itself to his weight. His mind was racing. 3 days to decide. Accept the Empress's claim and become part of the royal family, or refuse and potentially damage human relations for generations. Some choice. Hours passed. He tried to sleep but couldn't. The awareness of was constant now, a presence in the back of his mind. She was somewhere else in the palace, probably in her own rooms. He could feel her packing, restless and worried. Near midnight, by the clock he'd set to human standard time, he heard a soft sound at his door. Not the main door, but a smaller one hidden in the wall that he hadn't noticed before. The door slid open, stepped through. She'd changed from her formal robes into something simpler, though still elegant. Without the court around them, she looked younger, less like a princess and more like a scared person trying to do the right thing. "You shouldn't be here," said, standing up quickly. "I know, but I had to talk to you." She walked into the room and the door closed behind her. "Away from the court, away from my mother's games." They stood facing each other. Up close, the differences were obvious. Her skin had that shimmer, that alien quality. Her eyes were violet with pupils like stars. She was taller than him by a few inches. But through their bond, he could feel her humanity, her worry, her guilt. "I'm sorry," said quietly. "I claimed life debt to protect you. In our culture, it's a sacred bond. I thought it would give you status, keep you safe from those who fear humans. I didn't know my mother would use it like this." "She wants something," said, "more than just political alliance. What is it?" Hesitated. Then she sat down on one of the delicate chairs. "The nanomedicine you used, it didn't just heal me. It changed me. Our scientists have been studying my blood for days." She looked up at him. "The nanomachines are still in my body, still active. They've integrated with my cells in ways that shouldn't be possible, and they've created this." She gestured between them. "This connection we have." "I can feel you," admitted. "Like you're always nearby, even when you're not." "I feel you too, your emotions, your thoughts sometimes when they're strong enough." Skin shifted to a darker blue. "My mother knows about this. She has the best scientists in the empire studying what happened, and she's realized something important." "What?" "The nanomedicine could extend, maybe significantly. My mother is old, very old. She's ruled for 300 years, but even don't live forever. She's looking for ways to extend her reign." Understanding hit like a physical blow. "She wants the technology. That's why she's claiming me, not for politics but for access to human medicine." "Partly," agreed, "but also because of this bond between us. It proves that humans and can be connected in ways we never imagined. If she binds you to the royal family, she controls that connection, controls the research, controls the future." "I'm just a cargo pilot," said, feeling overwhelmed. "I don't know anything about nanomedicine. I just used what I had." "But you're the key to it, the proof it works." Stood up and walked to the window. "If you accept her claim, you'll be trapped here. Part of the royal household means you belong to the empire. You'll never be free again." "And if I refuse?" "Then my mother will make life very difficult for your people. She won't declare war or anything so obvious, but trade deals will fall through. Protection agreements will be delayed. Pirates will mysteriously avoid patrols. Humans will suffer." Joined her at the window. Below, the crystal city glowed in the night. "No good choices." "No," agreed. "But there might be a way to make this work. If you accept the claim, I can help you. The life debt means I'm bound to you as much as you are to the empire. I can be your guide, your ally. Together, maybe we can survive this." He looked at her. Through their bond, he felt her sincerity, her genuine desire to help. "Why?" he asked. Why help me? You barely know me. Because you saved my life without hesitation. Because this connection we have means something. And because, she paused, her skin shifting through several colors. Because I think you might be the most honest person I've met in this court of liars and schemers. Laugh despite everything, that's a low bar. Perhaps, smiled slightly, but you'd be surprised how rare honesty is when you grow up in a palace. They stood in silence for a moment, watching the city. The bond between them hummed with shared understanding. I haven't decided yet, finally said. I know, but whatever you choose, know that you're not alone, not really, touched her chest over her heart. This connection means I'll always be with you, for better or worse. She left the way she came, through the hidden door, but her presence in his mind remained, warm and constant. Returned to the too-soft bed and stared at the glowing ceiling. 3 days to decide. 3 days to figure out if he could live with being a pawn in an alien empress's game. Or 3 days to find a way to be something more. Morning came too quickly. Woke to sunlight streaming through the crystal walls, painting rainbow patterns across the room. For a moment, he forgot where he was. Then reality crashed back. 2 days left to decide. Breakfast appeared on a table that rose from the floor. The food was carefully chosen to be edible for humans, though it still looked strange. Blue fruits, bread that sparkled faintly, something that might have been eggs but probably wasn't. He was eating when Ambassador arrived, looking even more stressed than before. The news has spread to all human colonies, said, not bothering with greetings. He was carrying data pads and folders, his hands shaking slightly. Earth's government is divided. Some think this is the opportunity of a lifetime. Others think you should refuse and damn the consequences. Helpful muttered. There's more, sat down heavily. Lord and his faction are spreading rumors. They say you're a spy, that the nanomedicine was designed to infiltrate the royal family, that you're controlling Princess' mind. Choked on his water, that's insane. I know, but some people are listening. The court is split right now. Half think you're a hero, half think you're a threat. The Empress is keeping everyone off balance by not revealing her full intentions. Pulled out one of his data pads. I've been studying the right of imperial claim. It's ancient law, hardly ever used. The last time was 400 years ago when they claimed a merchant who saved an entire city. He lived the rest of his life in luxury but never had any real freedom. Great, said flatly. But there's a precedent for negotiation. The claimed person can set conditions if they have leverage. Looked at him seriously. You have leverage. The Empress wants you for the nanomedicine connection. That means you have something she needs. Before could respond, there was a knock at the main door. A guard entered and announced that had a visitor. His sister walked in. Jumped up, what are you doing here? Was younger than him by 3 years with sharp eyes and a confident stride. She wore the uniform of a human research scientist. Earth sent me. Figured you could use someone from home. Plus, they want me to study what happened between you and the princess. She hugged him briefly, then pulled back to look him over. You look terrible. Thanks, said sarcastically. Nodded too, then pulled out her own equipment. I need to run some scans on you. Don't worry, it won't hurt. I just need to see what these nanomachines did. For the next hour, ran tests while asking questions. How did he feel? Could he sense the princess? Were there any physical symptoms? Answered as best he could, though it all felt invasive and strange. Finally sat back and reviewed her data. Her expression was troubled. The connection is permanent, she said bluntly. The nanomachines didn't just heal her. They created a biological bridge between your nervous systems. It's like you're partially linked at a neurological level. Can it be removed? Asked. No, well, maybe, but it would probably kill both of you in the process. The integration is too deep now. Showed him charts that meant nothing to him. This is unprecedented. The nanomachines were designed to repair human cells. They shouldn't have been able to integrate with alien biology at all. But they did, said. They did, and they're still evolving, still adapting. In a few months, this connection will be even stronger. You'll be able to sense her emotions clearly, maybe even share thoughts. Paused. The Empress knows this. That's why she wants you. You're not just a test subject. You're proof that human and biology can merge. Made a strangled sound. This changes everything. If they can integrate human technology at a biological level, they could extend there by centuries, maybe longer. Which makes incredibly valuable, finished, and incredibly trapped. If he refuses the Empress now, she might just take him by force. The three of them sat in silence, considering the implications. I need to see her, said suddenly. I need to talk to her about this. That's probably not a good idea, started, but was already standing. I don't care. This affects her as much as me. She deserves to know what's happening to her body. He reached out with his mind, focusing on that constant awareness of her presence. It was easier now. He could sense her direction, her distance. She was in the palace, not far away. Through the connection, he felt her surprise, then understanding, and a moment later, invitation. I'll be back, told them, and walked out before they could stop him. The guards in the hallway didn't try to stop him. Maybe they had orders not to. Maybe they could sense where he was going through some kind of security system. Either way, they let him walk. He followed the feeling of her presence through crystal corridors and past elegant rooms. Others stepped aside as he passed, their skin colors shifting with curiosity and speculation. Word had clearly spread about the human in the palace. His rooms were in a tower that overlooked the city. The doors opened as he approached, and he stepped inside. The space was different from his suite, more personal. There were items that spoke of a life lived, not just a guest room. Shelves with objects from other worlds, art on the walls, a desk covered in data pads and papers. Was standing by the window. She turned as he entered. I felt you coming, she said. The connection is getting stronger. I know, my sister just told me, walked toward her. It's permanent. We're going to be linked like this for the rest of our lives. Skin shifted through several colors, finally settling on a deep blue. I was afraid of that. I've been doing research too. The palace scientists are excited. They see this as a breakthrough. They see us as experiments, corrected. Yes, she looked away. My mother has plans, big plans. If this connection can be replicated, it could change everything between our species. But it also makes us both pawns in a game we never asked to play. Stood beside her at the window. Below, the crystal city sparkled in the afternoon light. What do you want? He asked. Not your mother, not the empire, you. Was quiet for a long moment. Through their bond, he felt her struggle with honesty. Finally, she spoke. I want to be free. I've been a princess all my life, which means I've never been my own person. Every decision is political. Every friendship is calculated. Every choice is made for me by people who think they know better. She looked at him. Then you appeared. Someone who saved me without knowing who I was, without wanting anything in return. And now we're connected in a way that has nothing to do with politics or duty. You didn't answer the question, said gently. I want you to stay, admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. Not because of my mother's claim, not because of empire, but because this connection we have feels real, honest, and I haven't had anything real in my life for a very long time. Through the bond, felt the truth of her words, the loneliness that came with being royalty, the desperate desire for something genuine. I don't want to be trapped, he said. I don't want to be a political tool for your mother to use. Then don't be, turn to face him fully. If you accept the claim, do it on your terms, set conditions, demand rights. My mother is smart. She'll negotiate if you have something she wants. And I do, the nanomedicine, the connection. Yes, skin brightened slightly. Use it as leverage. Demand the right to speak freely at court, the right to advocate for humans, the right to leave if you choose. Make yourself valuable but not owned. Thought about it, it was risky, but it was better than just accepting whatever the Empress offered. "Will you help me?" he asked. "I'm bound to you by life debt. I'll always help you," smiled slightly. "Besides, causing trouble for my mother sounds like fun." They spent hours planning, taught him about court politics, about the factions and their interests, about the ancient laws that govern the empire, shared human perspectives, human approaches to problems. Together, they crafted a strategy. By the time evening came, felt something he hadn't felt in days: hope. Maybe he could survive this, maybe even thrive. On the second day, Lord tried to force a confrontation. He appeared at suite with a group of supporters, demanding that the human leave the palace immediately. The guards stopped them, but's voice carried through the halls. "This alien has corrupted the princess, used forbidden technology to bind her to him. The Empress is being deceived." Heard it all through his door, felt anger through their bond, but he stayed calm, was predictable. Rushing out to defend himself would only make things worse. Instead, sent word to ambassador. If wanted to make accusations, let him do it formally. Let him prove his claims before the court. The ambassador delivered the challenge. Caught off guard, had to accept or lose face. On the morning of the third day, woke with his decision made. He dressed in the formal clothes that had been provided, simple but elegant. Human style adapted for court. And met him for breakfast. "Are you sure about this?" asked. "No," admitted, "but I'm doing it anyway." At noon, guards came to escort him back to the Crystal Court. The massive hall was even more crowded than before. Word of his decision had spread, and everyone wanted to witness what happened. Was already there, standing beside her mother's throne. Through their bond, he felt her support, her confidence in him. Empress looked down at him from her throne. "3 days have passed. Have you made your decision, human?" Walked to the center of the floor. His heart was pounding, but his voice came out steady. "I have. I will accept your claim, but I have conditions." The court erupted in shocked whispers. Nobody made demands of the Empress, but smiled. "Speak," took a breath and spoke clearly, making sure his voice carried to every corner of the massive hall. "I will join the royal household. I will honor the ancient law of imperial claim, but I will do so as myself, not as a decoration or a silent servant. I have 3 conditions." The court was completely silent now. Every was watching, skin colors shifting with anticipation. This was unprecedented. A claimed person negotiating with the Empress herself. "First," continued, "I must have the right to speak freely at court, to give my honest opinion when asked, even if that opinion contradicts tradition or authority. If I am to be part of this empire, my voice must be heard." Empress tilted her head slightly, considering. "Interesting. And your second condition?" "I must be allowed to advocate for human interests, to serve as a bridge between our peoples. The connection Princess and I share proves that humans and can work together. Let me be proof of that cooperation." Murmurs ran through the court, some approving, some skeptical. Lord's skin was turning a deeper red with each passing moment. "And third?" asked. This was the dangerous one, steadied himself. "If I choose to leave the royal household someday, I must be free to do so. Not immediately, but eventually. I will not be a prisoner. I will stay because I choose to stay, not because I am forced." The court exploded with noise, voices raised in argument. This was too much. Nobody left the royal household once claimed. It simply wasn't done. But before could respond, Lord stood up from his seat. His voice boomed across the hall. "Empress, I invoke the right of challenge." Everyone fell silent. Skin flashed with alarm through his connection. Strode forward, his formal robes flowing behind him. "This human makes demands like he has earned the right, but he has proven nothing. He saved the princess by accident with illegal medicine. He makes claims about being a bridge between species, but we have only his word for it." The noble stopped in front of, towering over him. "I challenge him to prove his worth. Let him face a test of judgment and wisdom. If he passes, his conditions stand. If he fails, he leaves this court immediately and never returns." His expression didn't change but felt calculation behind those black eyes. This was a trap, but also an opportunity. If she sided with, she looked weak. If she dismissed the challenge without reason, she looked unfair. "The right of challenge is law," said slowly. "What test do you propose, Lord?" Smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. "A simple scenario. We will see how this human handles a situation that requires both wisdom and strength. Let him show us if he truly understands what it means to serve an empire." He gestured, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the court. It showed a starship, clearly human in design. "This ship is the Bright Hope, a human colony vessel," explained. "It departed from Earth 2 months ago with 500 colonists. Yesterday, it was captured by pirates at the edge of space. The pirates are demanding ransom." The display changed to show data: ransom amounts, threats, deadlines. "Both human and lives are at stake," continued. "Pirates of mixed species took the ship. They threaten to kill hostages if their demands are not met. You, human, must choose how to respond." Another gesture, and 3 options appeared in holographic text. Option 1. Negotiate. Use the Empire's authority to discuss terms with the pirates. Promise them payment and safe passage. Risk that they might kill hostages anyway or make new demands. Option 2. Attack. Send military to assault the captured ship. Rescue most hostages quickly but guarantee some casualties. Pirates will certainly kill some people before being stopped. Option 3. Do nothing. Let the human authorities handle their own people. The Empire is not responsible for human ships outside official trade lanes. Smile widened. "Choose, human. Show us your wisdom. Whatever you decide will be enacted immediately. Real lives depend on your choice." His mind raced. This was impossible. Every option had major problems. Negotiate and look weak, possibly causing more danger. Attack and guarantee deaths. Do nothing and abandon innocent people. It was designed to make him fail no matter what he chose. If he negotiated, they'd call him soft. If he attacked, they'd call him cruel. If he did nothing, they'd call him cowardly. Through his connection with, he felt her concern, but also her belief in him. She trusted him to find an answer. Looked at the 3 options floating in the air. Then he looked at. "I reject all 3, he said. The court gasped, skin darkened further. "You must choose one, those are the only options." "No," said firmly. "Those are the only obvious options, but humans don't always choose the obvious path. That's what makes us useful to this empire." He walked toward the holographic display, studying the data. "You're right that this situation needs wisdom and strength, but it also needs something else: creativity." Pointed at the ship image. "Pirates want money and safety, but what they really want is to not be pirates anymore. Nobody chooses that life if they have better options, so give them better options." He outlined his plan quickly, speaking to the whole court now. "Send a small team to infiltrate the ship. Not a full military assault, just specialists. Have them ready to act if needed. At the same time, open negotiations, but not just about ransom. Offer the pirates real alternatives. Amnesty for those who surrender. Jobs within the empire for those with useful skills. Resettlement on worlds where they can start over. Show them a way out that doesn't end with prison or death. Use the infiltration team as insurance, but make the negotiation genuine. Most people don't want to be criminals. They just don't see another choice. Give them that choice." "And if they refuse," demanded, "if they choose to remain pirates and kill hostages anyway?" "Then the infiltration team acts. Rescue who we can, but we try the peaceful option first. We give everyone a chance to walk away alive. Looked at the noble directly. That's what wisdom looks like, not choosing between bad options but creating new ones. The court was completely silent, looked at each other, skin colors shifting through confusion and consideration. Nobody had expected this. Empress stood up slowly. She walked down from her throne and approached the holographic display, studying it as if she could see possibilities that weren't there before. "Interesting," she said quietly. Then louder to the whole court, "Execute his plan immediately." Sputtered Empress, "This is unproven. Foolish, we should." "We should see if the human's way works," interrupted. "I am curious. Lord, you will oversee the operation personally. Report back when it is complete." The noble had no choice but to bow and accept. The court took a recess while the plan was put into action, was brought to a side chamber where he could watch the operation unfold on monitors, joined him, along with End. "That was either brilliant or insane," said. "Probably both," admitted. His hands were shaking now that the adrenaline was wearing off. "If this doesn't work." "It will work," said firmly. She was standing close enough that he could feel warmth from her skin. "I know it will." They watched the monitors as ships moved into position around the captured colony vessel. A small team infiltrated through the engine section, moving silently through corridors. At the same time, communications opened with the pirate leader. The negotiation was tense. The pirate leader was suspicious at first, certain it was a trick. But as the negotiators laid out the offer, real amnesty by imperial law with opportunities for legitimate work, doubt crept into his voice. "Why would you offer this?" the pirate asked over the comm line. "We're criminals' enemies." "Because the Empire values useful people over useless corpses," the negotiator replied. It was an officer speaking but recognized the phrasing he'd suggested. "You have skills. Navigation, ship repair, combat training. We can use those skills, but not if you're dead or in prison." Silence on the line. Then, "I need to discuss this with my crew." 20 minutes passed. They felt like hours. The infiltration team was in position now, ready to act if needed, but they held back, waiting. Finally, the pirate leader came back on the line. "We accept, but if this is a trap, we're taking hostages with us." "Not a trap. You have my word under imperial seal. Surrender peacefully, release the hostages, and the amnesty is yours." Another long pause. Then the pirates began emerging from the colony ship with their hands raised. No shots fired. No casualties. The hostages were freed. All 500 colonists alive and unharmed. The pirates were taken into custody, but not as prisoners, as applicants for the amnesty program. And the pirate leader, when questioned, provided information about other criminal networks, locations, plans, intel that would save lives in future operations. In the chamber, let out a breath he'd been holding. It worked. Against all odds, it actually worked. His hand found his, squeezing gently. Through their bond, he felt her pride, her relief. They returned to the Crystal Court an hour later. The massive hall was buzzing with excitement. News of the successful rescue had spread quickly. They were impressed, and some who had been skeptical were now reconsidering. Lord stood before the throne, his skin a sullen dark red. He had to report the success of his plan, and every word clearly pained him. When he finished, Empress nodded slowly. "The challenge has been met. The human has proven his worth." She looked at. "Your wisdom showed us a new path. Your conditions are accepted." Relief and triumph flooded through. He'd done it. Survived the test and kept his terms. But wasn't finished. She gestured for to approach. "However," the Empress said, "there is one matter still unresolved. The life debt my daughter owes you. This supersedes even my claim by ancient law. It is your right to determine the nature of this human's place in our family." Stepped forward, facing the assembled court. Could feel her determination through their bond. She'd prepared for this moment. "I accept the life debt. announced clearly. And I propose a new arrangement. Will be my partner and advisor, not bound by marriage law or forced servitude, but by honor and mutual respect. He will represent both human and interests, serving as a bridge between our peoples. She looked at her mother. This is a role without precedent for a situation without precedent. He saved my life with courage and selflessness. I will honor that by giving him the freedom he asks for and the authority he needs to truly help our empire. Considered this for a long moment. The court waited in breathless silence. Finally, the empress smiled. Wise beyond your years, daughter, the court accepts this arrangement. She raised her voice. Let it be recorded. Of Earth is bound to the royal household through honor and life debt. He shall speak with the voice of princess, and his words shall carry weight in all matters between humans and. The court erupted in approval. Skin colors flashed bright with acceptance and celebration. Even some who had been skeptical were won over by the successful rescue and the elegant solution. Lord had no choice but to bow and accept defeat. He retreated to his seat but could feel the noble's anger. This wasn't over, would be a problem in the future. But that was a problem for another day. That evening stood with on a balcony overlooking the Crystal City. The sun was setting, painting the towers in shades of orange and purple. In the distance, stars were beginning to appear. You did it, said softly. You created a place for yourself that nobody expected. We did it, corrected. I couldn't have survived without your help. Through their bond, emotions flowed freely. Gratitude, hope, the beginning of something that might become friendship or possibly more. What happens now? Asked. Now you learn to navigate court politics. You help open channels between our peoples. You probably make my mother's life interesting in ways she didn't anticipate, smiled. And we figure out what this connection between us really means. No pressure, said Riley. None at all, she laughed, a sound like crystal bells. Welcome to the Empire, try not to start any wars. Behind them, through the palace windows, they could see the crystal court still celebrating. Humans and beginning to see each other not as aliens, but as potential partners. It was just the beginning. There would be challenges ahead, political games to survive, enemies to outsmart, and the constant pressure of being a bridge between two very different civilizations. But had learned something important. Sometimes the impossible choice was just an invitation to think differently, to create new possibilities where none existed before. He'd come to space as a simple cargo pilot. He'd saved a princess, been claimed by an empress, challenged by nobles, and somehow, improbably, carved out a place for himself in an alien empire. Not bad for a week's work. Looking up at the alien stars didn't feel lost anymore. He'd found purpose in the strangest place possible, and with beside him, her presence constant in his mind, he felt ready for whatever came next. The future was uncertain, dangerous, full of challenges that would test him in ways he couldn't imagine. But it was also full of possibilities. And if there was one thing humans were good at, it was turning possibilities into reality. Smiled at the stars. Let's see what happens next.